Good day, Ruskin enjoyers. I hope you did right, 'cause it's time for another Rustor investing review. Now, last week we discussed the likes of the May 30 Rustor. Didn't exactly hold up very nicely, those skins, did they? But that did match up to expectations. So that's the focus of the video. Basically, we look at Rustors 4 weeks since they've happened. We talk about the initial reaction. We talk about, how things progressed. What barter prices did we offer with the abnormal barters? Did we actually make any purchases? And what was the outcome? In short, with the likes of today's focus, the June Force Wipe Rustor, how did things turn out? Did we assume certain things wouldn't perform very nicely? Did we assume certain things were going to be super safe and reliable? We're here to discuss that, and if things didn't turn out as expected, I'm here to explain why. So let's jump in. So this is the June Force Wipe Rustor, June 6, 2024, and during the same week, we of course also had the Bellum Twitch event. A lot of very interesting, very appealing looking Twitch skins being given away for free. Alright, so keep that in mind, because when this Rustor first appeared, we knew that was coming out. We knew that was on the horizon. So it was very surprising to see the likes of a large box in the Rustor and another double door. Another double door. When I saw that, I was like, oh no. I really wanted that like a year before, because that initially came out like early 2023 in the workshop, but only then did it get accepted because it got resubmitted. But anyway, overall, lots of very interesting continuations, interesting tools, the likes of these Ice Eye tools right here, transparency, whatnot. That looked awesome. That looked unique. And I was optimistic. Lo and behold, we had another sheet metal door that had transparency and glow in the dark. The MP5, continuing the likes of the MK Ultra collection. We were a bit optimistic. We thought things were going to be nice. And lo and behold, of course, yet another neon small box. The third one to be accepted after the likes of the fuel storage and, of course, the likes of the food storage. But I was kind of a bit iffy, With the food storage becoming marketable, it kind of went a bit awkward. Now, we did discuss this with the previous week, so now we're talking about initial thoughts. When I first looked at the neon small med storage, so let's hop over to the likes of predictions. Remember, with every predictions video that I do, in the description, I put all the skins in order of confidence. So the first skin would be the skin I'd think, in the future, yeah, that'll probably be performing the best and whatnot. This is how I think. So the skins at the very bottom, the ones I think least of, unfortunately. So I looked at the likes of the neon small med storage, and I thought, okay, look, listen, I can't help but assume that in the long term, yeah, all these neon small meds, they might suffer at some point around October time, the dreaded autumn fall seasonal dip, but in the long term, yeah, sure. Exactly like how the large boxes behaved when they first appeared, I was under the impression that things should still be alright, but you could probably pick these up for a cheaper price in just a few months' time. June Force Wipe kicked off with 175,000 peak players. I wanted to get the point across. Yes, we've got a lot of people playing right now, but they don't stick around forever, aka quite a lot of them are kids, and unfortunately, they go back to school around September time. So September, October, November, what do you think that coincides with? Kids going back to school after the summer. So yes, less people play the game, less demand for skins. Typically, more skins appear on the Steam market, and if there's less demand to buy them, prices, of course, go down, 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 down. People who are trying to sell them compete with each other, and yeah, you get the idea. So I made this video around, very close to when that first appeared. Yep. So just a couple of days afterwards. So I was looking, I was thinking, I was pondering, but here's the problem. I knew that small meds was going to sell like a lot, because people by default would want it, but there's still a lot of people that really just wanted to flip them. I saw that with the likes of the food storage from the previous week, and when it got to the point where we were looking at the first 24 hours of sales, that was the highest selling small med storage with almost 26,000 subscribers. When I was when I was at the point where it was the next day looking at that, I thought, oh no, things are going to be really awkward, alright? So we kind of skipped ahead a little bit there, but things were kind of going a bit insane with the likes of that. So let's hop back over to the likes of this. Initially, I said long term, fine, but short term, you know what? Wouldn't surprise me if it dips below its Rustor price, and we will talk about that in a bit, because of course we do have to talk about all the other skins. So the second skin that I was feeling somewhat confident in, tempered sheet metal double door. I was under the impression, with the likes of the Bellum Twitch drop, which is over here, the sheet metal double door, that was being given away for free. That has transparency. That's glow in the dark. Tempered double door did not have transparency. This had an edge over it. This was being given away for free. Tempered sheet metal double door was being sold at $3 a piece. I thought, you know what? there's a fairly decent chance that tempered sheet metal double door probably doesn't sell too much or insanely, especially with the likes of the Neon Med storage being right next to it. It might sell reasonably, it might work out quite alright in the future, and we'll talk more about that in a bit, but yeah, just want to point out that was out and available at the same time. Okay, so looking back at all the other skins, of course, with the likes of what might be the third most interesting skin to me, I looked at the likes of the Chameleon Tier 2. I thought, you know what, so as long as this collection remains fairly in demand, it is the final core piece, I did acknowledge that. There wasn't really anything else to come out after it that was going to give that a nice big boost. With the arrival of Chameleon Tier 2 appearing, the likes of the hoodie and pants just went all the way up to about $4. It was insane. So just to quickly remind you of the likes of this. Chameleon, new core piece, pre-existing core pieces, spike demand, spike in price. To this day, they're still doing very nicely. Pants are still $4. Unfortunately, because Tier 3 sold just a fair bit more compared to those, it's now suffering. Because, you know, when you compare the total sales with each other, yeah. So we will talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, the initial optimism was, I reckon Chameleon probably would get, you know, retain some interest and whatnot. But I did stick with the point of, you know what, I'm not rushing into buying it. I was going to wait until Wednesday. And that likely proved to be a very, very good idea. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. Then I started questioning the likes of the Junkernaught sheet metal double door, sheet metal single door, sorry to say. Sheet metal door. So we did not have many other skins to compare to other than the bombshell sheet metal door and the brutalist sheet metal door. Now, they had some very weird history based on the fact that when they first appeared, with the very next dip that they suffered from, they went down to about half their price. That was selling for $3 a piece. So I was like, okay, I'm very happy to see more options, but I know where this is going to end up at. I saw how the brutalist sheet metal door behaved. I saw how the bombshell sheet metal door behaved. I thought, you know what, just going to stick with doing a buy order. That was like the initial thought. How did things turn out? Well, of course, we had to wait until how many sales have happened by Wednesday night and whatnot. You get the idea, you understand. Tools were very cool to look at, they were very nice, but I just could not help but assume, based on all the hatchet skins and the pickaxe skins we've seen in recent past, how they just do a terrible job of retaining their value. I thought, okay, at the very least, surely the eyesight tools might still retain some value, a little bit better compared to the others. I want to wait it out. I want to see if the sales are ridiculous, and I want to see if there's a decent chance these could still retain some decent prices. And yeah, I was a bit foolishly optimistic there, wasn't I? But I didn't jump in immediately. So again, reiterating, never jumping in immediately, waiting until like the last day to then consider making a move, always tends to work out quite nicely. So yeah, with the likes of that, it got all the way to the point where the MK Ultra MP5, well, wasn't exactly super optimistic for it. I haven't even mentioned the Watcher of Doom large box. That happened to appear immediately after the garage door was accepted, so the very next week. That went all the way up to about $4 just because the large box appeared. It only lasted for about 2 days. It did drop off, and of course we can kind of see how that kind of turned out, but I'll talk more about that in a bit. So the initial thoughts were perfectly fine looking rust door. For the June 4th swipe, we were happy. Lots of interesting continuations, interesting deplorables, got some more cool pieces. It was nice. So Chameleon collection was finally finished. Certain collections continued ever so nicely. We're optimistic for more skins in the future, more continuations. Let's now talk about the abnormal barders. So I already gave you a bit of a peek in terms of the sales, as you can see right there. First 24 hours of sales, quite tame for a lot of these other skins. You were ridiculous. So hopping over to the likes of the abnormal barders, I have the prices. We discussed, based on what we saw at that point, how are we going to approach this? Well, if you could just quickly hop back over to here. Imagine it's Wednesday night and there's probably maybe about 500 to 1,000 less subscribers because, of course, you know, there's like another half day to go. Well, except you're still like at 48,000. But anyway, I was looking at all of these skins and I was thinking, what prices would I go for? What prices would I be offering? I had a very decent idea of how they're likely going to end up at. Of course, as I've already mentioned, the upcoming autumn-fall seasonal dip. But with the likes of Neon Med storage, I had my rant video. I was talking about how, yeah, guys, it honestly looks like every brand new Neon small boxes that's going to come out, we're just better off sticking with doing a buy order. We're better off just probably only offering around $1. I did recall, with the likes of the large boxes, when they went through their first dip, well, first of all, large boxes, they sold at $2.49, and even then, there are a few that still went down to around $1. These small boxes, selling for $1.49. felt like it was kind of inevitable that they were very likely going to stoop down to around $1 at some point. It's unfortunate. I still stand by that point. And it was quite surprising to see, because we don't see it at this specific point, but those small boxes did kind of get pretty cheap, didn't they? So we'll focus more specifically the prices. So with the likes of the NeoMed small storage, I sat there and said, I'm offering between 90 cents and $1.20. Now, when I do my buy orders, I use two accounts. I do a local buy order and I do a slightly higher buy order. And I'll be honest with you, seeing how low this got to a certain point, I got a little bit iffy. But that's the outcome, so we'll worry about that in a bit. So 90 cents to $1.20 was the way I was going to go about it. I did say to all the people that are watching me, if you want to actively try really hard and trying to pick these up for a fairly decent price, or just want to be more successful in picking them up for a cheaper price for what their restaurant price is, you could go up to $1.20. At the end of the day, you bought these for 30 cents cheaper, and I wouldn't be surprised if you pick up quite a decent amount of them in the future. It's just you're going to have to hold on to them for quite a while, around January time, until you can flip them and actually get your money back, and with a bit of profit. So yeah, and of course the summer next year probably is also a very good time to consider, but again, you'd have to wait. So yeah, fairly low price, but we understood how this was likely going to turn out. Now, when it got to the likes of the tempered sheet metal double door, well, hopping back over to here, it didn't really sell that much. I was kind of correct. Based on what I was expecting with the likes of the sheet metal double door, I thought it was going to be fairly tame. And I did bring up with the likes of all the tempered deplorables we saw in the past, they actually turned out ever so nicely. Some of them, not so, the boxes, the storages, they weren't really insane, but the doors, they performed very, very nicely based on what they initially sold for. So yeah, I was reasonably optimistic. I thought, surely we won't see another double door in the future, right? Well, you shouldn't have said that. So anyway, I looked at that, I said, you know what, in the future, in the summer next year probably, I reckon it'll still be selling for a nice profit, I was optimistic about the other tempered doors, so I sat there and said $1.50 to $2.30. That was my thoughts. That's how I was going to approach it. So cool. All right, we'll move on from there. With the likes of the Junkernaught metal door, I couldn't help but assume that this was going to immediately go down. I wonder if I was correct. But basically, again, following the behaviour of very similar skins, I fully expected it to drop down to around half its price, which of course would be $1.50. I said, why don't we just offer 80 cents to $1.30, pick up a whole bunch of these when it gets the absolute worst of it around October time, and by January next year, and maybe summer next year, we'll be able to sell them for around the actual price it's sold for, and potentially higher, which is exactly what happened to the Bombshell sheet metal door and the Bruce Lewis door over the course of this summer. So that was my expectation. We'll talk more about that. With the likes of the tools, I was a bit optimistic. I went with 80 cents to $1.30. I thought, you know what, guys, surely this awesome looking icy blue design, surely that'll stand out better compared to the average hatchet, the average pickaxe and whatnot. I knew that most of these skins do drop off pretty hard immediately in most cases and whatnot, but I was optimistic in the future that we potentially might see some more tools, more ice skins to be precise. So I thought, okay, I'll go a little bit higher, 80 cents to $1.30, so yeah. The sales weren't ridiculous, but I was a bit optimistic. With the likes of the large box, I didn't really have a lot of faith in it. I was under the impression that, sure, yeah, we'll still see Watcher of Doom deplorable skins being produced and whatnot. I just don't fully expect it to continue that much, because at this point, at that specific point, it dawned on me that there were many deplorable collections that had got started so far in 2024 up to that point, and many of them stopped at two or three deplorables. The only exception was Shadowborn. When I look at the likes of the Tomb of the Octopus, the Blocky, what else was there? There was also trying to remember all of them now. Tomb of the Octopus. I can't remember all of them now. Oh dear. Oh dear. But yeah, let's just continue from there. I was worried that this is where it was going to stop. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So I thought, you know what? I'm only going to offer 80 cents to $1.20. Yeah. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. Then when it got to the likes of the Chameleon T2, which sold reasonably, not insanely, especially when we compare it to the likes of the sales that the hoodie and pants had, and yeah, very much so compared to the likes of the Tier 3, I thought, okay, look, I can't help but assume it's probably going to still suffer. It's nice to see a full collection being complete. The only thing that we can really look forward to for Chameleon Collection is probably the boots. Ha ha ha. Maybe complete the sets later this year. Ha ha ha. We'll see. Maybe a jacket. Who knows? Oh, I really wouldn't want to see another jacket being accepted. Ha 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 ha. So, yeah, I was like, I think I'll play it safe. With the likes of the kilt, that tends to be the more valuable, more in demand, skin compared to the others. I went with $1 to $1.50. And with the likes of the other tier 2 pieces, the coffee can and the vest, I went with 80 cents to $1.20. I knew these were expected to go down, especially when you compare it to many other tier 2 pieces that have been accepted in the past. It's usually these two that suffer more. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And when it came to the likes of the MP5, I went with 80 cents to $1.20. I could acknowledge that many more MK Ultra skins were being produced and put on the workshop. I just didn't really expect them to be accepted, but I could understand that, hey, if they keep putting out the goods, surely Face Punch will probably pick up another one at some point, maybe, possibly. Would the AK ever go back up to its Rustore price, which was $3? Who knows? Right then, so, of course, with the abnormal borders, we did them, everything seemed alright. Did I make any purchases? No, I did not. I refrained. I didn't want to jump in. I didn't really feel the need to do so. I was happy with my borders. I was content, alright? So now this is where we talk about the outcomes, and we talk about, did anything go a little bit awry? So, looking at the likes of the Neon Small Med Storage, as of now, it's up 2%. Yay! If you bought that, you're not going to be making a profit. So unfortunately, with the likes of this, and a lot of the other Neon storages that have been accepted somewhat recently, they all went down to around their Rustore price. Or rather, stuck around. Now, retaining is nice, but it's kind of being helped out due to the fact that we got a lot of people playing it at the moment. What happens inevitably in about a couple months' time, I've said it already, autumn, fall, seasonal dip, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I was actually really, really surprised to see that we went down to a point where all three of these storages here, they all went below their Rustore price. Now, this one still is technically, not by much, but if it's like this at the moment, how much worse could it potentially get? And this is why I reiterate, can't help but assume we're probably going to be picking these up for $1 at some point. So at a low point, this went down to about like -5, this went down by like -10, this went down by like -15. They've kind of calmed down a bit. Recently, we did also have the likes of something different, a Neon Locker, so that was cool, that was interesting. I don't really think this really gave that much of a boost. And fairly recently, so last week, Neon Small Seed Storage, I was under the impression people were getting fatigued. Like, oh no, these things didn't work out as I expected. We started to notice sales were starting to drop off a fair bit, and with the likes of this one, well, it only did about 26,500 subscribers. So, of course, in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be talking about that. But the inevitable future was far too many people thought, oh yeah, I can jump in, I can sell these at some point, probably really quickly, make a quick flip profit, because of course it's going to end up like that really soon. I warn people. But yeah, far too many people bought with the pure intent to sell, and we ended up with a lot of quantity on the Steam market. Come on, Steam, work for me, work for me. Come on, work for me, please. She's just shy. There we go. Ah, beautiful girl. Thank you. Right, so it's got 481 quantity on the Steam market. It's quite literally evens. It doesn't have that much quantity here, but it's like 12, 10, 11. Guys, in the future, around October time, I'm expecting this is going to have 1,000 quantity. It did 52,600 subscribers. Come on now. That is a ridiculous amount. As I said, we had 175,000 people playing for the peak player count for June 4th swipe, right? I can't help but assume there's more likely going to be around 70,000 of these in circulation. Subscriber count, whilst being correct, and always usually like correct in terms of like the actual specific amount, we don't know how many of these have actually been bought. Subscriber count is the absolute bare minimum. That is the individuals who have bought the skin. 52,650 individual people bought the skin. How many did they buy each? We don't know. Maybe, I assure you, a lot of people did buy one for themselves. They just wanted to grow their own collection. But there will have been people who bought 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 1,000, all right? Do not be surprised by such a thing. There's very, very likely going to be about 70,000 of these in circulation. Cool. Anyway, when you kind of put together, all right, so there's 70,000 of these in circulation, and our peak was 170,000. In theory, do at least 1 and 2 people constantly want to use the likes of this small Neon storage here, and of course all the other ones? When we inevitably have less people playing, it's going to become a lot more noticeable when less demand is around and prices go down. So I will sit here and say expectations have been met. Kind of surprised it went down to this point, but not surprised also. So yeah, there is a lot on the Steam market. There will very likely be a lot more in the future. Keep an eye on it. But yeah, whilst it's got reasonably enough demand to keep the price stable, it's not always going to be having that demand. So yeah, cool. Right, let's move on. Tempered sheet metal double door. Oh, surely we're not going to see another sheet metal door being accepted after this. Surely not. Surely not. Well, guess what? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. There was another one. Okay, anyway. It sold reasonably. It didn't go crazy. And, well, yeah, I kind of expected that. I thought, you know what? Yeah, for the summer, it will retain its value. It'll be doing all right. But inevitably, it will still suffer. It will still go below its rust price. That's why I suggested the price of going up to about $2.30. I'm under the impression $2.30 or around $2 will be its lowest point. Those other tempered doors that got accepted in the past, they dipped down initially for a bit. But then they rose up ever so nicely. Now, they also sold for $5 and $4. That sold for free. Hey, it is what it is, but it really didn't sell that much more compared to the other doors, and there's only 123 of these in the Steam market at the moment. Most skins on the Rusty market usually have an average of about 100 quantity. The buy orders that were put down initially are kind of still there, it's still very strong and whatnot. I think that would be doing fairly decently during the likes of October. It's just it will still go below its roster price. Also, you can see the guy here listing 41 other people. But yeah, that might have been a reaction after the Nuke Room double door was accepted, so that's fine for now. Expectations are currently on track. Will it go below its roster price? We shall see. Will this guy always keep his barter up? Will he buy every single one of these? Potentially. We shall see. So that's fine. You're cool. You're doing good. MK Ultra MP5, I feel like I was wrong with you. Maybe it was probably... Well, I mean, you did 17,000 subscribers, so... I was going to say maybe it was due to a sheer lack of sales potentially, but no, Hedge, of course, you can't have that. You can't have that excuse. You're not allowed to have it. Go away. But the barters are still the same, only going up to $1.20. Nothing changed there. So maybe it was simply a case of everybody here just didn't really want to list theirs below $2. This has happened in many instances. It sounds silly, but it kind of sounds like it's coordinated, but it's just people who just simply do not want to sell theirs under a certain point. So it has slowly gone downwards. And it did go down to around $1.50 in terms of listings. It looks like someone might have jumped in and done a bit of a buyout. 53. Maybe that was in reaction to another skin being accepted, but that happened 2 days ago. Not sure what to think of that, to be honest. Alright, well, it's doing alright, but the borders are still the same, so leave it to the inevitable October time. We'll see what it looks like then, but yeah. Doing better, so I'll sit there and say I'll accept that I was fairly wrong with that, but it's kind of weird how that is. Anyway, moving on. Junkernaught metal door, it's currently selling for $1.40. That was quick. Hey, I expected it. I didn't expect it to be that quick though. So yeah, the highest buy orders only went up to about $1.30, $1.20ish, and yeah. So yeah. But inevitably, will we potentially see, with the likes of this rising up in price ever so nicely during the likes of January time? I mean, that's still the hope, but that was really quick. I didn't think this was going to get to this point until around October, but it just went whoosh like this immediately. Okay, alright then. Well, there's only 58 listings on the Steam market, so acknowledge that. It's not like there's tons of them, it's not like there's heaps of it. And it did sell fairly nicely, so looking at that, it did just over 15,000 subscribers, so chances are there might be about 20,000 of these in circulation. And we did see a garage door being accepted, and yet it didn't really budge. Sheet metal doors this year have been really not good, and especially in terms of investments. Look at all of these. All the ones that came out so far this year, what do you see? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. So many of them suffering. Because there's so many to compare to. We have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. You get the idea. But hey, that was the expectation. It already got met. Could it still potentially go lower? Well, I mean, I don't really expect too much quantity to be appearing. Maybe it is quite literally going to round up to being about $1.20 being its lowest point. Will this guy keep his buy orders throughout all of it? We shall see. And I look forward to finding out if it does go back up to its restore price during the good times, post-Christmas, and of course summer next year. But hey, I feel like I was correct in that regard, but it happened a bit faster than expected. So you can react to me if you want. Comment below. Have you bought anything from this restore based on buy orders? Have you had to remove any borders? That's interesting to be aware of. So like I said, I didn't actually make any purchases, but I have picked up so many skins with borders. I have bought some of these. Yes, that happened. Of course, as I said, I thought a little bit optimistically. I thought surely we'll see some continuations. We did. We got a rock. It was cool. Yeah, that still went down in price. Oh dear. Look at the state of that weapon-only collection, or rather, weapons and tool-only collection. Now, we did see the likes of Deplorable being produced, and I thought that looked really cool. Hasn't been accepted yet. We shall see, but you never know. Maybe it dabbles into other things, and maybe this does get appreciated. But it's not like there's tons of them on the Steam market. So if I quickly look at the likes of the Hatchet, for example, there's only 24. There's only 24. There's only 24. What's going on? Well, people gave up, it seems. The barders that are sticking around are only up to about 90 cents. Same thing would probably apply to the likes of the pickaxe. Yeah, oh dear. I was wrong with this. I was a little bit optimistic. Now, it's not like I said offer $2. I said $1.30, and, well, okay, you might have lost a few pennies here and there. Fair enough. I get it. I understand. I did buy some of these myself. I'm hopeful that it could work out nicely in the future, you know, during some good times again. But these have come out, like, recently, so they're going to go through that initial kind of dip. And unfortunately, after that, it's the very bad seasonal dip. So, yeah, it's not going to really have a very good chance. It could very likely dipping down to potentially a low point. But there's not that much quantity on Steam market. That is the weird thing. So it could easily turn around and go up again in the future if people want it. I'm still hoping for a Jackhammer skin. We'll see. So, yeah, I was a little bit wrong with that one. I accept that. My apologies. Watch your Doom large box. Kind of surprised it's only gone down by 20%, but I do expect it to still go down a little bit more. Now, again, only 30 quantity in the Steam market. Okay, right, well, it did trend downwards, unfortunately. Now, recently, someone did buy out 31 of them. Yeah, not sure what's going on there. That's a bit weird, isn't it? But we have been getting more and more large boxes, and there will be more. We have Fancy Orb Twitch drops for the end of this month, and we are expecting even more Twitch drops in the future. So, yeah, there was quite a lot more. Yeah, so far too many options in such a short amount of time leads to problems like this, and it very likely will be dipping further. So we can look at it on the Steam market once more. Only 30, but give it some time, you might see more listings. So yeah, Barders did push up to about $1.50 there, but yeah, don't expect much of it. That is basically what we expected. So yeah, give it more time. It inevitably likely will be going down. Now, there was another submission for a Watcher of Doom skin. I believe it was a wooden door or an armoured door. It was an armoured door. Wasn't accepted yet. So we'll see if that potentially has a reaction to this, or that if that's accepted. You get the idea, but I don't expect much, I'm afraid. And then we have Chameleon T2, unfortunately, down by about 25% each. Maybe a third. Yeah, about a third. Ooh. What went wrong? Well, like I said, it was the final core piece. Nothing else to come out after it was going to give that a boost. Now, the hoodie and pants have been working out ever so nicely because those are the ones that sold the least in comparison to the Tier 3 and the Tier 2. The core piece that tends to sell the least ends up being the most valuable. So I will sit here and say it does appear to be that Chameleon is still reasonably somewhat in demand. You know, the prices haven't completely dramatically dropped down, but they have dropped down. But we did sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to do barders of like $1 to $1.50 for the kilt. I'm going to do barders of like 80 cents to $1.20 for the likes of the coffee can and, of course, the vest. I will sit here and say this. I had a $1.30 buy order. Yeah, I've had to remove them for both the coffee can and this. Yeah, I know. Yeah, oh dear. So I believe more barders might have been removed from the likes of this. Now, there's only 50 of them on the Steam market, but still there, yeah. Still there, $1.20. Yeah, oh dear. Oh dear. But yeah, kind of matched up to expectations. Will this hold throughout the rest of this year? Will it rise up nicely during the likes of December? Will we get a surprise continuation for the likes of a complete the sets? Will we actually see a jacket and whatnot? Will we see those boots that were submitted but never accepted? Yes, the boots could still give it a bit of a boost. Yep, keep an eye out for the likes of that. But yeah, will we see more of these being listed on the Steam market? Yeah. So if you did barders in these as well, maybe you might want to keep an eye on it, maybe you want to monitor it. It has gone below $1.50. Yeah, so yes, it went a little bit awry, a little bit awkward. So overall, I'll sit here and say I was expecting quite a lot of these skins to suffer still, and that they did, but they did it quite a lot faster than anticipated. So I do take this all in, like with recent abnormal bars and whatnot. I am making such a huge fuss about maybe we just want to play it safe. We know how bad things can end up because we just had to go back a few weeks and see all of this. but expectations mostly are still being met. So whilst I was a bit wrong on some of these, you are aware of what it can be like now. So if you really care and if you're watching these videos frequently and whatnot, cool, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching me. But yeah, it's a bit awkward. I wonder if June 13 was any better. Let's just take it on though. But hey, did we expect this to happen? Find out next week. Thank you once again for watching me. I greatly appreciate it. Feel free to comment below. Did you make any actual nice investments? Like, did you go lowball and you've managed to pick up some super cheap, or are you still holding out for the likes of the next few months over the course of the inevitable October, drop low point? And are you hopeful for picking some of these skins up for very cheap? Feel free to comment, and if you have had to remove some borders, of course, comment as well. So once again, thank you very much for watching me. I greatly appreciate it. Have a lovely week, and I'll catch you later. See you, goodbye.